Today with me is Florian Wagner, CEO and founder of Emerald Horizon, the game changer of near-nuclear applications in the SMR space. Welcome, Florian. Small modular generators could actually be the next leap forward, outbeating SMRs, yes, right, the reactors, as it is a near-nuclear application, a generator that is not doing all the harm that nuclear reactors do.
Correct. In the European Union, as we know, there are countries, they are pro-nuclear and they are against nuclear. My big dream is that exactly ADES or the SMGs are the solution to create the bridge between the countries they are against nuclear and they are pro-nuclear. Because you have the fruits of nuclear, but not really the disadvantage. So it's by far safer, and this could be the solution for Europe.
Let's talk about tech.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Tech, your podcast on venture capital and private equity, brought to you by Venionaire Capital. Today with me is Florian Wagner, CEO and founder of Emerald Horizon, the game changer of near-nuclear applications in the SMR space. Welcome, Florian.
Thank you for the invitation.
Florian, SMRs are all over the news these days, and I can imagine you didn't grow up and had the dream as a 6-year-old to start building a company on SMRs. How did you start and how did you end up building such a company?
Thanks for this question. Originally, I studied medicine. And by the way, one of the breakthrough solutions is based at the moment from a medicine technology. So this was my original background. During my study, I spent a little bit money with a few friends in some of the investment funds. And this was at the time where the market just went down. So I felt responsible for it and tried to find a solution which can compensate a little bit the losses which comes out of the market. The result was I found a few people on the planet that had good solutions, but not a normal investment fund. So I was forced to set it up on my own. I started basically from zero, just with a few algorithms. We have combined our knowledge, a few smart people together, and this was my original activity. The result was a managed future product, basically, which has the ability to produce massive returns in times of crisis and covering in normal periods where the rest of the market is doing fine. So that was my original activity, and this covered more and more time I had to spend into it. And then there came the large crisis, 2007, 8, and 9, where we were perfectly prepared for it, and several of the awards worldwide we won. So I was forced to do more and more into this direction, and I found myself far away from medicine. So I never decided to stop medicine. Anyhow, I love animals, I love people, and my dream was always to find a solution to help both. And this drove me to the point where I made an analysis on what makes the planet and the people sick. And this is pollution at the end of the day. And pollution is a huge part of it. And the largest footprint what human beings are producing is based on energy. This was the result. So I forced myself to find a solution to create energy, basically with the smallest possible footprint. Driven by this idea, I looked on so many different technologies. I traveled all over the world. I looked on different green energies, and sooner or later, after a few criteria, nuclear popped up. And nuclear would have some disadvantages, mainly critical chain reaction, and the fact that it produces transuranic waste. This is the waste which comes once you add uranium to a process, then transuranic waste comes. And this was for me not an alternative. I was born in Austria, and as you know, Austria is absolutely against nuclear. And I was in the situation of Chernobyl at the time, and I was heavily affected by it. And I was unable to accept a solution with these disadvantages. So I had to find another solution. And this was basically the beginning of the Emerald project.
So you started out as a medical doctor, became a hedge fund manager, and then driven by this dream of having clean energy that leaves less harm to the environment, you started Emerald Horizon because you suddenly became a nuclear physicist?
Originally not, and I'm still not. This was basically the concept was the most important thing. Most important is to make an analysis before you start what you want to achieve. We wanted to come up with something which has nearly zero carbon emissions. This would be very important, which is covered by the, let's say, normal green energy, but in a good way. But it's volatile. And therefore, then you have to find a solution for the volatility. This is a disadvantage of it. We had further criteria. It must be extremely profitable, because if you come up with a technology which is not powerful enough to be profitable enough, then there will be no acceptance on worldwide. So you cannot come up with a solution and expect that the world will accept it if there's not huge profits involved. So this combined a little bit my background of the hedge fund management period. So this was clear for me, whatever solution I come up, it has to be very profitable. This is basically one part of the criteria. The other group of criteria came against nuclear. So it should have no critical chain reaction. It should have no possibility of a meltdown, no possibility that it can explode in one way or the other. And there should be no, let's say, possibility produce weapons out of it. Yeah, this was for me very, very important. And these criteria we defined as a target.
Mm-hmm. But who invented this then? Did you invent then a solution, or did you find the next Einstein that had this fabulous idea?
There is, at the time when I've started, there was not the one best solution. I looked at different aspects of technology and combined some with some, let's say, historical aspects, but also some existing aspects together into a new concept. This we have called ADES. And ADES, the name comes from accelerator-driven energy source. Back to your question, this idea was not coming from my brain. There was a Nobel Prize winner called Carl Rubier. He used to be the CEO of CERN. And CERN is the largest particle accelerator center in the world. I always say it's in the mountains. So where Austria is also located, so basically out of our mountains. And CERN is the idea of Carl Rubier was to use a particle accelerator to release energy, let's say nuclear energy, out of thorium without these huge disadvantages. So basically, you press the button, you start the accelerator, and the particles come to, so you send the particles to thorium, this activates it and releases energy. And as soon as, in the same moment when you stop the particle accelerator, nothing happens anymore. So a brilliant idea. So you don't need anymore a critical chain reaction, and therefore you don't need anymore uranium, which normally produces these neutrons. Neutrons is the most important element, also particle here. So that was the original idea. The problem of this idea is that particle accelerators in the past were very large and complex facilities. Yeah, it costs billions and needs a lot of space, and it's not really ideal for something who should change the world. But the idea was born, and we took this idea as one very important aspect of our work. On the other side, as I've mentioned, I studied medicine, and coming from the medical part, there are particle accelerators in use to heal cancer. Yeah, the best possible level to heal cancer is with neutrons. So similar like what normally comes out of when you make a fission in uranium. But these neutrons are, let's say, on a relatively low energy level, so you cannot make out of a compact small particle accelerator a gigawatt, what you normally would have out of a nuclear plant or a large coal plant or something like this. So the technical guys said, okay, it's impossible to use it. it's more in the area of megawatt and we need gigawatt. So there's a factor of 1,000 in between. So you would need probably a couple of billions, 20 years to solve it, to increase the power further and further to come to 1 gigawatt. I said, wait a minute, maybe I have an idea. And my idea was then to explain this a little bit. The particle accelerator is then a little bit adjusted, and in front we created a loop. A loop basically in it circulates a molten salt, and in the molten salt is thorium. So when it circulates and it comes in front of the accelerator, it gets activated. Then during the circle, it cools down. Then it gets again activated and so on. And with this trick, so you need a pump, a loop, and the accelerator. And with this trick, we achieved around 25 megawatt. Okay. And then my team said, yeah, good starting point. This is easy to produce. This we can do with the components. They're already existing. This is doable. But we are still far away from 1 gigawatt. Okay. I said, job is done. Your job is now just bring this into serial production. The rest is just my problem. I solved this from a business point of view. And here comes the business model in place. A business model says, okay, instead of working in a way to have a larger and larger and larger plant, we do it in an opposite way. We keep it as it is. We just make it in container size, which is already the case. And these containers are produced in serial production. And wherever people need energy, we put the container there. So on some locations, maybe 2 of them, on some 5, on some maybe just 1. So we solved it. So 100 containers are delivering now the same energy equivalent of 1 gigawatt, which is a normal large plant. And the second benefit is you don't need as a grid anymore, because you can put it like a photovoltaic, you can put it where you need the energy basically, and you save a lot of grid capacity. So this solved basically 2 problems at the same time. So modular means you can produce thousands of them with a very low cost efficient price. And on the other hand, you save grid capacity. So this was a perfect solution, and this is what Emerald Horizon is doing, bringing this into serial production.
Okay. I was waiting for you to name drop Dr. Mario Müller, the genius, in my humble opinion, maybe the next Einstein. I met him in New York at Climate Week, I think 2 years ago.
True.
I think you guys were applying to Earthshot Prize and some other initiatives. When did he come into this equation? How long have you been doing this?
7.5 years now. One of the project starts not from a technical idea to a project. It was a project, and I looked for the technical people to hire. So it was very selective, and Dr. Mario Müller was basically a gift, simply because he was one of the talents of Austria. Studied nuclear physics and 2 other things, and he was sent as a talent to CERN. Yeah. And he was at the CERN exactly at the time when Carlo Rubio was there. So and then he came back to Austria. So it was brilliant for me to see, okay, this is exactly people who has this knowledge, what I looked for. And I was positively surprised that he comes from Austria, and he's a smart and also a lovely person. And I'm every day happy when I have the opportunity to work with him. And maybe I can make an announcement at the moment, because today I haven't saw him. And the reason is, these days, a huge part of my team is in the Netherlands, and we start these days with the production of the prototype of our ADES with 1/3 of the size of the final version.
Okay. And 1/3 of the size of the final version means that it's smaller than the final version, or it's 3 times larger?
Yeah,
just to be precise.
Just to mention what is small and large, because the wording of small modular reactor has, let's say, a huge spectrum. Some, like Rolls-Royce, so they name small modular reactor, let's say 1/3 of a normal nuclear plant. So basically,
So quite large.
It's quite large, yeah. So basically, one fact is true: you have 1/3 of the income. If it's really 1/3 the cost or lower, this is something which is not so clear. And this is, in general, the reason why some press releases are out that small modular reactors are not cheap and inefficient and so on. This comes from this idea, a normal nuclear plant, just a little bit smaller. And they call it somehow modular, but it's not really. Yeah? Some components are modular, let's put it this way. So this is what some feels is small. In our opinion, small is defined by 1/100 compared to a normal nuclear plant. So 100 of our modules would be an equivalent of, let's say, an average nuclear plant or coal plant.
And 100 of means the size of a shipping container.
Yes, the size of a shipping container is how large it is, and the output, I have defined it by output, is around 25 megawatt thermal energy on 900 degree, which is excellent. With 900 degree, you can directly use it for example, for aluminum production. You can very efficiently use it for hydrogen production. It's very efficient to use out electricity out of it. And of course, with lower temperatures, easy to achieve, just combine it with air or whatever. So this is a perfect output with a perfect range in our understanding, in a perfect size. And if you would convert this in with a normal way, so let's say you have a normal plant and you put these modules there and you use the existing infrastructure, you can convert it to around 10 megawatt electricity, just to give you a feeling. And this is somehow 10,000 households, more or less. And the best aspect, I think, of all of that is Thorium allows you that this module can run 20 years without refueling. So this is, maybe you allow me to explain this a little bit, how this could work.
Sure.
If you think about a supertanker, one of the largest on the planet, this is something like 2.8 million barrels of oil is in it, more or less. Yeah? The energy equivalent of it is exactly the same energy equivalent like one of our ADES modules, which means, for the general understanding, it's like you would burn over 20 years the oil with this, let's say, energy generator, and this, thanks to this huge amount of oil, you can run it for 20 years. And the same is true with thorium. Thorium is as even not the sun would have enough power to produce thorium. Also, maybe this helps a little bit to illustrate it.
I think it's a bit. I mean, if you deep enough in the spectrum, you get it. But if I have followed you correct, one ADES module could basically propel a container ship for 20 years. This is what you're saying.
No, let me put it, so could be possible, that's also right, yeah. But the idea originally is one of the tankers, the energy of one super tanker, if you would burn the oil out of it, then it has the same heat produced what one ADES produces over 20 years.
Okay, on the heat side.
But you are absolutely right. Of course, if you put one of these ADES module in a container ship, the container ship can run 20 years without refueling, which is, by the way, also not so new, yeah. Small reactors are also, let's say, in a submarine. So it's not new if you've seen maybe the movie.
Yeah, but reactors, right? It's always reactors. I have still in front of me Ursula von der Leyen speaking about the SMR initiative of Europe. But if I listen correctly to you, you're not talking about small, medium reactors. You actually talk about small, medium accelerators, right? So you shouldn't be compared to SMRs. It should be SMAs.
Yeah, or SMGs, like generators or whatever. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Ursula von der Leyen spoke about small modular reactors as a solution, and she said there should be new technology invented. And what the huge difference is, as I originally said, our plan was to come up with something which is, let's say, as powerful as a small modular reactor, but does not have this disadvantage. And this was pretty complex in the beginning with this particle accelerator, but once you have it, then it's like the job is done, and you can release the energy without these disadvantages. So it's not longer a traditional nuclear world involved, because you have no chain reaction, because you don't need it. The accelerator, once you have heat, the accelerator is not switched on, so you can switch it on like the light. Yeah, so this is definitely different than a normal reactor, let's say, and you don't have to put uranium in it, and this is also a huge difference, and therefore you don't produce transuranic waste. So it has the fruits of both sides, let's say, and this is why the nomenclature is working in a way that we looking for nuclear adjacent. So a little bit like like this cancer treatment machine, also driven by neutrons coming out of accelerator. It's the same concept. Yeah. Maybe to illustrate this example, let's assume you have neutrons out of an accelerator. In one case, you use a human body. Yeah, you give them boron into the veins with let's say a little bit food. Tumor cells are very active, so they eat a lot. So a lot of this food goes into the tumor cells, much more than in the normal tissue. And with this food, you added boron. And this boron collects heavily, then therefore, as a logical consequence, in the tumor cells. Step number one. Step number two, you press the button, you start the accelerator, neutrons are coming out. In all the tissue where the level is very low of boron, it goes just through it, and the boron leaves the body after a few hours with no reaction. But in the cells with a lot of boron, the neutrons, when they're coming, it captures it. This is why the name is boron neutron capture therapy. And once it's captured, heat is released, or the energy is released, and this destroys the DNA of the tumor cell. And the good part, the neighbor cell is not affected. So therefore, you have extremely accurate solution to heal cancer. It means it doesn't.
It's basically targeted microwaving of people.
Yeah, let me put it this way: it doesn't matter where the tumor cells are. It could be a solid one, it could be in your brain, like a complex glioblastoma or so, or in a body. And the same methodology is in our ADES. So instead of this small boron, which captures one neutron, we have this large thorium, 232 plus 1 neutron. It's the same plus 1 neutron. But if this breaks down, then a lot of energy comes out. This energy which comes from the supernova energy, which is in the thorium. So you releases this energy. And this is a great breakthrough and changes, to my understanding, exactly the completely understanding of small modular, whatever word you want to use.
Generators or accelerators?
Generators, accelerators.
What do you like better? What do you like better? Let's find the taxonomy here.
I like generators.
Okay, SMGs. We're talking about SMGs here.
SMGs.
Good.
Okay, SMGs. Back to your original question. What Ursula von der Leyen wants is, in the European Union, as we know, there are countries, they are pro-nuclear and they are against nuclear. And my big dream is that exactly ADES or the SMGs are the solution to create the bridge between the countries that are against nuclear and they are pro-nuclear. Because you have the fruits of nuclear, but not really the disadvantage. So it's by far safer, and this could be the solution for Europe.
So the small modular generators could actually be the next leap forward, outbeating SMRs,
Yes.
right, the reactors, as it is a near nuclear application, a generator that is not doing all the harm that nuclear reactors do.
Correct.
So never call an SMG again SMR, right? We've learned something here. Amazing. One little question until, and then I ask you about the stock listing that is coming up. I know of no single application for thorium today, and I also have no clue where thorium exists on Earth. Now we see the Strait of Hormuz is quite locked up at the moment, and the world is depending on oil, right?
Yes.
Will we be depending on a region again because thorium only exists in one place on Earth? Do we have to go to Mars to get it? Where do we have thorium and what is it used for today?
Yeah. Thanks for this question. When you Google it, then you see that thorium is 3 times more available than uranium, which is not really true, because you have to combine it, to my understanding, to uranium-235. And if you do this is, to my knowledge, where all nuclear reactors are running on. This is then 300-400 times more available, so by far more available. Which means it's not only in the amount more available, it's also on the locations more available. Basically, every region on the planet has thorium. And on top comes, we have already mined it. So because when you mine rare earth, several cases when you mine rare earth, and you split out these rare earths into different categories, then very often one let's say waste or byproduct is created as thorium with no newt. So we have mined it already in a tremendous amount, so enough to have. So if you have technology,
And where is it sitting? On a waste deposit?
everywhere. Yeah, and waste deposits basically everywhere on the planet, as in many, many, many locations. Even Europe has a lot of it.
Have you bought mines? Or like, how do you get hands on your thorium?
Also, thorium it does not fall under the category of let's say it's not. So you cannot make weapon out of it. There is a number which I can share with you. If you would say, let's say a risk number, so plutonium is 1, yeah, then guess how low is thorium compared to it?
Well, as it's so
This is
safe,
half it,
0.0005.
Close.
You told me before.
You learned the lesson, yeah. So it's correct. It's 1/20,000, and this is extremely nice. So this is really something I think everybody can understand. This has nothing to do with weapons, and by the way, it's also the reason why no weapon on the planet exists based on thorium. And I guarantee you, if this would be possible, then there would be many, many sort of bombs in the street of Hamas or wherever. But back
Still,
to your question.
Supply chain. Where do you have your thorium from? Or do you have enough, right? Because serial production is great. You're working on this now.
Yeah.
But do you have enough thorium?
Also, the planet has enough of thorium, first of all. Secondly, one of the uses of funds, what we do in the actual capital round, is to buy as much thorium as possible. Thorium is just an alpha emitter, so you have just a sheet of paper is good enough to shield it, so it's easy to store. As I said, it's allowed to store it up to enormous amounts you can store. So that's one of the points on the list what we add with the next capital round. It will have sooner or later a value. Yeah, now it's not there, but it will have a value. And if an investor invests in emerald, then automatically it invests in the raw material thorium, which, if this alone gets a value, then this could be a huge extra source of income for Emerald Horizon.
I can see people scouting now for properties where they find thorium.
You need the
Okay.
technology, otherwise it has no value.
Well, they could sell it to you.
I have it already. Yeah. Okay, but this is basically about thorium and the beauty of it. As I said, I like animals, I like people, and it could be really deliver peace on the planet. And this is not a joke. This is really absolutely reality.
It would be wonderful. I mean, there's way too much fight over energy and resources around the world. Now, I know we're a bit running out of time, but the last question is the most important, and thanks for bearing with us. This is the most exciting thing that's happening on the Austrian Stock Exchange, I think, in 8 years. You're actually planning to list your stocks on the Austrian Stock Exchange. Which market and when?
On the prime market, so on the RTX prime market, and we are in the process now to come on the 9th of June listed in the ATX prime market, which is, we are really proud about this. This is a great honor for you to have this opportunity, and I hope it's a sign to the European Union that there is something which is worth looking at this, to really use it as one of the solutions, what Ursula von der Leyen said, to really achieve these targets. And
with the one caveat that she was talking about SMRs and not SMGs yet.
yeah.
But I'm sure you're watching, Ursula. SMGs You need to look into those.
I'm so-
Listed on the
so-
9th of June, Vienna Stock Exchange Prime Market.
True, as a 9th of June. But just to mention this, 4 years ago, we wrote a long letter to Ursula von der Leyen, and she even replied on it. And it was so great
Wonderful.
for us. It was like explaining our presentation. She said we have a lot of renewable energies, but we need storage system. Emerald has storage systems. And we need small modular reactors. Emerald is working on
SMGs.
SMRs, yeah. And she said we should working on new technology and a little bit on the supply chain. And the supply chain, the better one is definitely, or the other one than uranium is only thorium on the planet. So she mentioned this indirectly as well. So it was really like a dream come true. I don't know if you can feel this. If you write something and you're working on something, and then there is 1.5 weeks ago an announcement saying the full energy policy of the European Union needs storage systems and SMRs to solve it. And exactly on this you're working. So this was really, really a wonderful day.
I'm a bit jealous. I mean, I've never received a letter from Ursula von der Leyen before. It's quite an achievement. Now, your
Have you
listing.
written one to her?
No, not yet. But I mean, maybe she's watching and she writes me a letter, fan post, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the listing.
Yeah.
How do you actually come up with a price? How does such a listing work? Like, what's the preparation work you need to do? How can we think of a listing, right? Is it just clicking a button? My decision today is to list on stock exchange. Click, and this is where it goes. Or is there a bit more bureaucracy to it?
Yeah. Thanks for this question. So first of all, you should have a good team which is pretty knowledgeable about regulatory aspects and about let's say financial regulatory aspects, not energy regulatory aspects. So that is a very important part that you have a right team, that you select good service providers, and that you have a stock exchange in front of you who massively supports it, which is also extremely helpful to bring this process in a reasonable time into reality. So all of this works. About the pricing, basically there are 3 possibilities to come to a price. Number one, it could be a discounted cash flow calculation methodology. And this is a huge benefit what we have, and this is important to explain. Many SMRs, which are already listed, so around 2 years ago, America was the first, they started to look into small modular reactors. Many SMRs are offering business plans which looks for 10,000s of modules, what they want to produce. But what they have forgotten is the regulatory aspect. So, and this is our biggest benefit, because we believe, thanks to the fact, no critical chain reaction, no uranium involved, therefore no transuranic waste, and 20 years no refueling, this is a compelling benefit on the regulatory side. So we believe that our calculation of business plans and discounted cash flow methodologies has a chance to come into reality and is not reduced by regulatory limitations. And what you see when you look on Wall Street at the moment, you look at some of these small modular reactor stock like Oklo, SMR, and some of them, you always see they have huge rallies. This is whenever they look at their possibilities for the use cases. So this gives a lot of move in the market. And then comes big drawdowns, and this always comes, there's a regulatory problem, and it's not so easy to have
extremely volatile stocks trading at gigantic multiples. Now, what can we expect? What's the price you're offering? And are you scared that the price will drop after listing?
So, good question. So, discounted cash flow methodology, we have calculated this. The average risk difference scenarios is around 12 billion for now, already discounted. Because at the end, it's a tremendous amount of use cases what you have. And with a business model of 20 years, this is one of the most profitable things I have ever seen in my lifetime. I came out of the hedge fund world. So this is a tremendous number at the end. And even if you discount it tremendously, it's still a high number. But just to mention this. The second possibility is you look at your peer group. Peer group analysis, you you list out which companies are pre-income, so all of them balance sheets looks horrible. Yeah, they always has losses or nothing in it, but as all of them are basically in the same sector. This is why Ursula von der Leyen said she wants to have the first operating by 2030, which is, by the way, exactly the number when we want to have that on the market. This means that at the moment, none of them are operating in the European Union, so all of them are pre-income. So don't be surprised. But this peer group is around 4 billion evaluation. Even the market went down, so 3 to 4 billion, even high. And we took a very conservative approach. We took just the real price, what people has really paid in with the last or with the actual pre-IPO round. So basically, this is a validated price because several people, so we have 106 investors at the moment, and they paid this price. So this is a absolutely accepted way. But we wrote a list what we haven't achieved at the moment and why we don't make it higher. And this list is quite long. So the good thing is, and we work basically on all of these points, and one is taking reality at the moment. And this is, I can mention this, one of the most, or let's say best deep tech partners you can have in the European Union is VDL. VDL is the only company on the planet. They are producing or the manufacturing for ASML, this nanometer lithography machine. So basically, these ASML machines, all microchips on the planet are coming at the end out of these machines where VDL is involved in the manufacturing. And they do several other things. So they are, from my understanding, one of the best partners you can have. They made 5 months due diligence on us and wrote us 8 months ago a letter. Okay, we have analyzed which components you need. And they confirmed in this confirmation letter we can co-develop this with you to serial production. We manufacture it and we have the supply chain run. And this is why the announcement is so great. These days they start with the second last prototype version, what we already do with VDL, and we are absolutely happy. 16,000 people are working for VDL, around 100 subsectors, 20 countries coverage. So this is wonderful, really wonderful. So a nice technology with a huge partner, professional partner, bringing this into reality. This is something what we hope will the price give a good boost. Yeah.
And the price tag is above or below $1 billion?
We start definitely below that. We can celebrate later that we are above. Yeah. But as I said, compared to the end price, even one is nothing compared to it. And this is good.
Amazing.
People should earn. This is important. So you should come with a product on the market which has a lower energy price than the normal market. This helps people to save money. This is important. It should be something which you can produce in a huge amount that you can deliver it worldwide. This is important because then it really has an effect. And it should be good for the investors that they earn something and they carry the risk with us. So therefore, there should be a premium involved, and which is absolutely fine.
Florian, thank you very much for this energetic talk. It's really, really cool to learn from you. I wish you all the best for the listing and for the time beyond.
Pre-IPO, if you mentioned this, because you said what this has to be done, there's the pre-IPO round. Thanks to Venionaire, it's possible to buy shares until the end of or mid next week. So there's 1 week left to, if the people, they have the possibility to decide quick, they can buy the shares with the old price until mid next week.
We do in fact have some consultants that actually cover this project, and I'm proud of that. We're not the only ones, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, I hope you learned a lot about SMRs and the SMGs, the small modular generators, which could change our energy landscape globally. It sounds a bit like a bet, and some technology and development manufacturing risks still implied, which is fair, right? On the other hand, I'm proud that the Austrian Stock Exchange is a great partner that also allows such unicorns, right, to go and list on the stock exchange and give every one of you the opportunity to participate. If you believe the world needs a change in energy, and if you believe that Florian is up to something with Emerald Horizon, check out his website and maybe follow his story. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next time. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Let's talk about tech. Let's talk about tech. Let's talk about tech, baby. Let's talk about your IP. Let's talk about steel, baby. Let's talk about